Here's how it normally works. You don't like a law the legislature passed, you file a lawsuit claiming it's unconstitutional. And then a judge hears it and decides if you're right or wrong. Maybe it gets appealed to the appeals court or the Supreme Court, but eventually get an answer. In this case, a judge in Malacca has decided on his own that the Restore the Vote Act is unconstitutional, even though the case wasn't even before him. Remember this? A celebration after decades of trying to change the law, an effort to finally allow felony offenders on probation to vote. Governor Walz later made it official, and since then, those who were disenfranchised once are now registering and getting ready to take part in elections.
That Judge Quinn has abused his authority, so we have intervened in support of the writs of prohibition.
Attorney General Keith Ellison says he's appalled by the actions of a judge in Mille Lacs County, north of the Twin Cities. Judge Matthew Quinn has recently issued orders ruling that 6 felony offenders that he sentenced to probation aren't allowed to vote. The Attorney General is intervening to undo that.
Voting rights are not up for debate in a criminal sentencing. These unprecedented abuses of authority are the first reason we're intervening in support of writs of prohibition.
In the meantime, the Secretary of State wants to make sure that people know it only affects those 6 voters that have been slapped with those orders.
So my message to anyone thinking about registering to vote or voting in the upcoming elections on November 7th is you are eligible to vote if you are a citizen of the United States, you're 18 or older, you're a resident of Minnesota, and you are not currently incarcerated. If those things apply to you, you may vote. Period.
2 years ago, the Minnesota Board of Judicial Standards issued a formal reprimand to Judge Quinn for a Facebook post supporting Donald Trump and for taking part in a Trump boat parade. The board noted the St. Cloud Times snapped a photo of Judge Quinn in one of those boats, wearing a MAGA hat and a Thin Blue Line pro-police T-shirt. Ultimately, it'll be up to a panel of judges here at the Minnesota Court of Appeals to decide whether or not Judge Quinn exceeded his authority and whether those no voting orders he sent out should be struck down. In St. Paul, John Croman, KARE 11 News.
Thanks, John. In the meantime, the Minnesota Voters Alliance has filed a regular lawsuit challenging the constitutionality of the Restore the Vote Act. That one is still winding its way through the courts in the more traditional sense.